Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you are all having an amazing day. My day's been pretty fantastic so far. Got some great news, some great business news. Had a great meeting with my staff this morning. Things are going good, and figured I'd reach out to you guys today and just kind of follow up on yesterday's show. I want to say thank you. An amazing number of people reached out yesterday, between yesterday and today, just contacting me, expressing, obviously, to a degree, sadness, um, for some of the stuff I'd been through. Obviously, I'd not gone into great detail about my experience there, just kind of some of what led up to me going. And like I said, there wasn't a reason that I was doing it other than to add context to a lot of the things that go on in my life and conversations that I'll be having, things like that. The biggest one for me was that everybody sees my life here today, the things I do, and it's just an assumption of, oh well, whatever, he's had this, or he's just whatever. You to certainly, maybe, I think, gives me some perspective of having an idea of where I was, 5 years ago, the things I've been through. And so, like I said, talking about buying this house, is the appreciation for it is so big. It's so high. It's not just, hey, great, I bought a house, I'm lucky, and let me show a picture of it on Instagram and things like that. That's not what it's about for me. It's the fact that 5 years ago, I was sleeping on a metal frame with some vinyl mattress and no pillow. Getting up in the middle of the night to have to use a communal bathroom, and having to go into a shower. There's a shower box with 6 to 8 shower heads, and you could have anywhere from 6 to 8 guys in there showering at one time. And um, I mean, it wasn't the hardest experience, obviously, but it wasn't me. And so, being home, I get to be pretty grateful. And a lot of questions were asked between yesterday and today, and I'll try to get into kind of three of them. If I'll try to unpackage some of this stuff. First and foremost, coming home obviously gave me a different perspective on everything, earning my way here. And someone asked me about, well, and of course, this is questions that have been asked in the past, that, what are you going to do to get back at her? And how are you going to get retribution, so to speak? And my answer to all these, to everybody across the board, is that kind of thinking is what got me there in the first place. How I'm going to get back at somebody, how I'm going to get mine, and all this other stuff. And that's the kind of thought that got me there. So my answer today is that the only thing I'm going to do is live my life, and I'm going to be happy. And I know that there are people in my life that don't want me to be happy. They want to see me fail. And I think that goes for everybody. I think across the board, we all have people in our lives that don't want to see us happy, that they don't want to see us succeed. It would make them happier to see us fail. And it says more about them than it does about you as the individual. Um, Somebody who looks at someone else and says, I want you to fail, they're just not a good person. And so I say the only thing I can do, the way I would ultimately get back, is to be happy, is to live a good life. And it's taken a long time, but I think I live a good life. I live a productive life, and I'm involved in my family, with my family, my kids, and my friends, and I get to be around a lot of great people and do a lot of just amazing things. You know, a big part of my life prior to going, I traveled. I travel now. I traveled then. traveled all over the world. And a big part of something that I do now is I made a commitment was to never waste a moment. That's part of being happy is enjoying the moment. And I travel a lot now for work, and what I do now is if I'm driving down the road and I'm in a another state or somewhere else, and I see something on the side of the road or I see something in a magazine that's in the area that interests me, I'm gonna go do it. Because when I used to travel, if I was doing it for work, I would literally just go for work. I would never leave the hotel room. I would do the standard wake up, eat continental breakfast, go to work, do my thing, eat a dinner, and sit in the hotel room and watch TV, whatever. Now I enjoy the moment. I take advantage of all these things, and it's literally like the proverbial smell the roses. I I've been so fortunate over the last 5 years to experience so many amazing things because I took the opportunity to do it. And it's not like huge, grandiose things. It could literally be just something small where you're driving down the road and there's a sign for a historical marker and you stop and that interests you and you stop and you observe it and you go over there and those are the kinds of things that I do now where I used to not do that in the past. My mind just wasn't there. So the best answer I can get is that to ever get back at anybody is just to be happy and live your life. Because there are going to be people that want to see you fail. There's going to be people that don't want to see you happy. So just live a good life and enjoy what you've got and be appreciative of it. The other part of that is showing gratitude, is actually exhibiting gratitude, not just being happy and being appreciative for the things you have, but giving back, showing gratitude. Because if you have it within you, you have the kind heart that you appreciate what you have, then you can understand that someone who doesn't and other people around you. And it doesn't mean you have to give money because not everybody has the ability to donate money and stuff like that, but it could just be time. It could just be the ability to sit there and listen to somebody. They're having a bad day and you just sit there and listen. And that is a form of to me, that's a form of showing love and appreciation and affection for somebody's literally just giving your time to them. It doesn't have to be a high demand, it doesn't have to be anything big. It can just be something simple, and it could be as simple as you listening to them. For me, I like to show my gratitude because obviously I express it. I express it on here all of the time and tell people how much I appreciate them. And I believe now that you guys maybe have a different perspective on that and you understand that I'm truly appreciative. Like I said, being there, you don't have cell phones, you don't have the instant communication, and you wait on letters and you get mail, and mail's a huge thing because not everybody gets it. It could literally be, I've seen guys that were there that were they got served with like divorce papers and they were happy to get something in the mail regardless of what it was. To them it was just the fact that they got something. It's a really weird way to think about it because here if you got something like that in the mail or got served, like you'd freak out, you get so upset, and there you're just happy that something came in the mail. And so you get appreciative of really really minor things coming home, and you get to be present, and you get to communicate instantly with people. And so for me, having the ability to communicate and open up to people and have great conversations, and man, it's so fulfilling. And I tell everybody, you do more for me than I do more for you. Me doing something, the having the ability to do something for somebody, because for so long I didn't have that ability. That gives me so much uh, I guess, well, pride to be able to do something for somebody else. So again, literally just if needed to just sit there and listen. They're having a bad day, and it's it's really hard to explain that fully. Similar to the being able to explain somebody truly being able to understand being hungry. I'm willing to venture that there's very few people that are watching this that would watch this that can ever say they've truly been hungry. And I don't mean like you haven't had something to eat in 5, 6 hours. I'm talking about you've not had a nourishing meal in weeks, where the you're literally consuming 1,000 calories a day sometimes, if even that. There were times, being that I'm Jewish, I don't eat pork. Um, and for me, food is huge. Food's a big thing. And like my rabbi told me one time, he's like, "Look, you're not going to go to hell because you ate a pig. God's not going to say you're a horrible, god awful person because you ate swine." So it becomes a choice. And I made a choice a long time ago not to eat pork of any kind. People will fuck with me. Sometimes they'll sneak it into my food. And it really does. At this point, it messes with my stomach. It smells amazing, and but people have slipped it into my food before. Fred's wife, Samantha, she's done it to me a couple times, and I just some meatballs, and I just ate these things. I ate like 9 of them. They smelled so good, and I didn't know they were pork. She didn't tell me. She didn't have the heart to tell me because I was enjoying them so much, and within probably 5 minutes, my stomach was just wrecked. So food has always been an important thing to me. It's lemonade, by the way. It's not Coke. It's Taco Tuesday. I went to Jack in the Box, got 2 tacos, four tacos. So, um, so there on the trustee camp, we had our own chow hall, and everything was prepared there. The pigs were raised on the farm, or on within the organization. Um, I think the only thing that was purchased was some beef, but everything came in rolls. I mean, they did have pork chops from time to time, and we got ground beef on, like maybe some spaghetti and stuff like that. But almost every day, at least at one meal for lunch or dinner, was some form of pork. So there they served breakfast at like 4:30 in the morning because people had to work, they had to get up, go to classes, schools, things like that, and everything there revolves around count. And so what you have to do is you got to serve breakfast, get people off the trustee camp, get them into the building before count occurs so that it doesn't mess anything up. And count occurs at like 6 a.m. So you got to go through all this stuff and you got to get it done. And so at breakfast, I'm not getting up for breakfast. I mean, I'm sleeping. It's 4:30 in the morning, which really sucked. But for lunch or for dinner, it was always a pork something. And so being what I could get was, they wouldn't give me any special meals. It's not like I got nothing special. What I could order or ask for when I walked up was meat free. And what that consisted of was 2 pieces of bread, 2 pieces of cheese, an extra scoop of beans, and whatever vegetables that were there. So that's literally consisted on for 4 years. And that's how I ate. Um, so to this day, I love bread and carbs because that's I just always have. But um, it was tough. I mean, when I came home, I weighed 165 pounds. Um, it it sucked. It was miserable. I mean, I feel great now. I'm right at 200 pounds. I weighed myself last night. I was 199 pounds. But when I came home, I weighed 165 pounds, and it really, really sucked. It was miserable. Um, so food was really a really big thing there. I mean, I can go on and on and on about a lot of that stuff. Um, somebody asked kind of more of a little more explanation about me coming home. Um, so I'll tell you guys that the way it works there, they send you to the trustee camp because obviously the intention is that people that go there want to go home. Um, People like me, I automatically qualify to go out there because I have a non-aggravated, non-violent crime. I automatically qualify as long as I meet the time guidelines. One of the number one restrictions out there is you have to be within 2 years of your parole eligibility. Well, Um, I was, I mean, technically on mine, I was eligible for parole after 14 months. So by the time I got into the system, I was already within that 2 year window. But you also, you can't have certain charges. You can't have any kind of sexual charge. You can't have any kind of murder, um, stuff like that. So most of the people that were out there was a lot of alcohol related DWIs, vehicular manslaughters. There were people out there for aggravated robbery. There were people out there for aggravated assaults. But they had to do like half of their sentence. There's people that had 20-year aggravated charge and they have to do 10 years before they're even eligible for parole. So it means they had to do 8 years somewhere else before they could even qualify to come out to a place like that. Um, so I was pretty fortunate in that regard, but without going into like every little detail about it, I'll tell you that I was denied the ability to come home twice, and it comes up annually. I was denied twice. I didn't know why at the time because I met all criteria to be able to qualify to go home, and but I didn't know it until the third time when I actually qualified, and they called my father. They got my father on the phone. They let him know that I was going to be coming home, and I was granted what's called an FI1. It stands for further investigation, but generally it means that an FI1 is what everybody wants. It's what everybody asks for because it means you're scheduled for immediate release. And they have all these other ones. It's like FI2, FI3, 4, 6. Um, stuff like that. And those all mean something different. Like you may have to do a class. One may mean you have to finish your GED. One may mean you have to do a class called changes. One may, whatever. There's some of these, they actually, you qualify, but they send you off to a program and you go do another 6 month program somewhere, especially like you've been in for alcohol and stuff like that. They'll send you off to this program for 6 months and you have to, it's almost like a reentry rehabilitation type thing to get you ready to go back home. And so anyway, mine was like they set for immediate release. I found out that when they called to tell my father that I was going to be coming home, my father asked why I hadn't been granted my previous two, and the guy on the other end, I don't know. I mean, I remember his name, and again, with a lot of this, there's people involved, and I'm going to try to avoid using exact names. Like people asked about my daughter and stuff like that, and some of my friends and people know about, and I'm not going to get into specifics about my daughter. She's a minor, so I'm not going to get into certain little specifics about her. I will say that she's amazing, she's beautiful, and she's good. Um, but my father speaking to this gentleman on the phone, and he asked why I had been denied the first two times, and the guy says, "Was Mr. Husk, your son's an asshole." And my dad laughed. He's like, "Well, yeah, yeah, but that doesn't. I mean, that doesn't mean he should be able to get to come home." And he says, "Well, apparently because they come in and they interview you and they talk to you and you go through all this. It's like an hour long kind of process once a year." And both people that I talked to both times, they both believed that I thought that I was better than them because of the way I spoke to them. And they didn't say I was disrespectful. They didn't say I was mean or nasty. They felt like I didn't show enough remorse, and that I felt like I was above them, and I should just be granted the ability to go home, and not that I had earned it. And what it boiled down to is the way I speak, because I spoke to them as if I was on their level, and I can't admit that. I can't acknowledge that I did speak to them as if I was just a normal person like them, not a person sitting on the other side of the table who gets to go home at night, and a guy on this side of the table who's in white. I spoke to them like normal, and to them they took that as disrespectful, which sucks. Um, so Come the third go round, I actually what I did was I wrote a letter. Some other people take credit for it, and the fact is, I was told flat out it was a letter that I sent. And I told you guys about the assessment that I took on myself. Well, I didn't just. It wasn't like, hey, I just fixed it, it was changed, it was done about after this assessment. What took place was me working on it. I had to work on it every single day. Like I told you, I think I said this last week. I went 2 years without swearing, saying a single cuss word. Again, it made no difference on who I was, but it allowed me to communicate in a different manner. And in a place like that, sometimes cussing and swearing can be interpreted as aggressive. And so I did that intentionally to manage life there. Um, but I took this assessment and I worked on it the entire time, and I did. I believe I changed and I fixed a lot of the things that at least I could feel were wrong with me. And you got a lot of time to yourself. I mean, if you really want to, there's enough time because look, people go there and they watch TV all day long and they watch soap operas and they watch game shows and they watch sports. They do this shit all day long and they do nothing for themselves. They just wake up, eat, watch TV, and go back to sleep at night. And that's not what I did. I mean, I worked on myself every single day. We didn't have headphones or anything like that, but I would go out and walk the track and I would exercise and I would, you know, think to just think. And actually, I would find little rocks, and it was kind of funny because I ended up. I find myself doing it with my father's coin. Was I would find these rocks and I would rub these rocks and I'd have them in my hand, kind of like I don't know, like the way a baby does on a blanket and something like that. And I would just sit there and rub these rocks, and I would just walk around the track. If I'd ever got caught with the rocks, I would have gotten in a lot of trouble. I mean, but we're talking about like little bitty pebbles, maybe like less the size of a quarter, but I would just rub them. And anyway, um, so I wrote this letter and I expressed, and I had to write it to the parole board, but I wrote it and I had to express to the parole board my thoughts and my way of thinking. And I put it all out there. And I said to them that pretty much what I said yesterday was the fact that I had gotten away with everything my entire life. I was never forced to deal with the repercussions of my own actions. I was always able to get away with it. And I told them that I'm actually grateful that I was sent there. That I believe that coming there was probably one of the best things to happen in my life. Did I want to go there? Absolutely not. But I am grateful for it. I'm grateful for the lessons that I learned. I'm grateful for the seeing the other way of life that I was just completely oblivious to for many many reasons. Like I tell people, there was a time before I went where I was broke, flat broke. I literally had $5 in my bank account because I was working on my own business, and it was just I wasn't money wasn't being collected because jobs weren't finished yet. So things, there was a period of time where there was $5 in the bank account, and I had to literally make a decision: do I put the $5 in my fuel tank and go to work, or or I needed milk for the kids, and uh, decisions like that. I mean, I'd walk to the store, got the milk, then went to work. Um, I mean, there was really, really tough decisions like that. So, but I still had a house. I still had, I mean, my still electricity and all those other things. So in a thousand different ways, I was still wealthier than people that were obviously in jail, or obviously in other countries, and in a lot of cases here in the United States. I was still much more fortunate, but I didn't see it that way. Um, but I expressed to them through this letter that I understood that now, that I am grateful for these lessons and the things that I've done, and that I truly do believe that I spent the time to assess myself and correct myself, and that I believe I should be given an opportunity. to show that. And um, 10 days after I wrote the letters, I was granted parole, which was amazing. So I got to go home. Um, but same process, same thing occurred. I was interviewed, and I had to go in and I had to talk to people, and I tried to humble myself a little bit more, even though I believe I already was very humble. I tried not to speak to them in in very direct way that my biggest problem was that I enunciate my words. The words I say are very crisp, and that's not what they were used to. So it came off as if I was arrogant, and it's not. That's truly wasn't the way it was intended. I just this is the way I speak. The way I speak is it's very distinctive. So that I toned that down a little bit, which is sad. It really is sad. I had to intentionally tone it down on this third interview. Um, so I was granted parole on June 16th, 2012. And the reason it took two months for me to go home is because I got banned from the county I lived in, the county I came from, which is unheard of. I mean, right now in the county that I got banned from, within 3 miles of my office is something like 85 convicted sex offenders and like 20 people that have violent charges or murder charges who have made parole after a period of time. This is within like 5 miles of my office. And me, I have a nonviolent, I have a nonsensical bullshit, um, situation, and I get banned from the county. Like I can't step foot into the county. Um, to when the day I was being released, they made me sign a map quest. They had printed up a map quest for, like Google Maps, and made me sign it, showing the direction of which I would go home. Well, I lived directly south you know, of Huntsville, so I'd go straight down I-45 to go home. I had to drive literally, they made me drive like 40 miles west and then go south and around the county because they didn't even want me driving through it. That's how crazy it was. So I literally, what was happening was my home, I intended to go home, and I was actually going to live with my parents until I got home and was able to make arrangements and get out on my own. They weren't going to allow that. They banned it. So I actually had to find somebody um, to let me use their address to come home to. And so my cousin, who lived right up the road from me, she let me stay with her for a month. Um, and then I came home, spent the first month living at their house, um, and then I got permission to move, and I was able to lease a house out in Cyprus, in Town Lake, and it was just so to get that process, to go through all that process, it took 60 days. So even though I was set for immediate release, I got held for 60 days because I had to wait and I could not go directly. I couldn't go in Montgomery County. Um, that fortunately has since been removed. I came home. I had one restriction. Since I have no drug and alcohol history, I don't have to do regular like UAs or anything like that. I can go anywhere in the world. Literally, if I go to Mexico, I want to go to Mexico or I want to go to Europe, I can have it approved within, I can literally go within hours if I want to. Anywhere in the United States. I have no restrictions. I had one restriction when I came home, and that was going to Montgomery County. That's since been removed. My office is there. My My parents' house is there. So I have, that's all been removed. I can go anywhere I want without any restriction. So I have no restrictions now. Like I get to come home and I mean, there's nothing. I do absolutely nothing. I get a phone call once every 3 months at this point, um, which is just it's just crazy. So I will say this because I did talk about this yesterday. I actually as of in September of 2022, September 11th actually, 2022, I will be officially discharged from everything. So yeah, if any of y'all were doing the math yesterday, yes, I was given 10 years, spent 4 years in, and so far 5 years on parole, one more year. And again, since it's non-violent, non-alcohol, non-drug related, I have no restrictions. I just don't have to really do anything. I go live my life. I get to be a normal person. I'm conscious of a lot of things, and I don't take chances. I think I told a story a couple weeks ago where a girl wanted me to come out and hang out with her, and she got mad because I wasn't willing to, at like 12 o'clock at night, to go with her and her sister and someone else and one of their friends and drive like 40 miles up the road when my house is like 7 miles, up the road. And they were, they'd been drinking, and they were except for one girl. One girl was Dee Dee. She was sober. The other two were completely obliterated, and they were up. She was upset because I didn't want to, drive like 40 miles. Like I said, when my house is like 5, 7 miles away, you just become more conscious of things like that. You make better decisions, I think. And for me, that's not a bad thing. Being in the position I'm in, with my family and my business and my life. It's just, I think it's just a better way to be. Um, so hey, little perspective on that. So you guys understood, maybe it means a little bit more why I made that decision. And why she knows about all this stuff. She knows that girl knew about all these things, and yet she didn't care. She wanted me to. She just obviously she's not obviously not the right person for me, because she wanted me to just so she could be happy. She wanted me to take a chance that would put myself at risk, and that's just foolish. But so anyway, yeah, I walked out on August 16th. And what they do is you go, again, you're at the Walls unit. So the Walls unit is one of the oldest prisons in the state of Texas. It's where they perform the executions. They don't actually house death row there. They have holding cells for people that are about to be executed within like days. They transfer them there, whatever. But people that there are inmates that are in this place, but they're housed there permanently. They may be a life sentence for murder, whatever. There's a lot of you'd be surprised at how many fucking sex offenders there are. It's unbelievable. Um, it's kind of crazy. But so anyway, this place, they don't house death row there. They just have the death chamber, and what they do is when you're leaving, they take you into this. It's just a huge open room, like a cafeteria kind of thing, and you go through and you have to sign all these documents, acknowledging this, and you're going to do this and all this other stuff. And they give you clothes. Like there's donation, like they get donations from churches and stuff like that, and you got to go into this room and you tell them your sizes. And God, if I had a picture of the clothes that they sent me out in, it was fucking hilarious. It was one of the funniest things ever. It's like I look like I just come out of the late '80s. Like it was like wearing some Z Cavariccis or some shit like that. Some Jabot. It was funny. So anyway, they send it's just what is there, and you get what you get, and that's what you got to walk out in. Luckily, my father had brought me some clothes. I'd asked for some specific clothes, and that's what they brought. They brought me to wear. But what they do is, when you go through this process and you're gonna leave, they walk you out these doors, and you're going down this sidewalk outside the building, and they walk you right by where the executions are performed, and they point that out. They're very clear to point that out. And they're saying that's where executions are performed. And if you guys don't straighten up, if you guys act like assholes and come back here, one day you might be inside there. And that's pretty fucking eye opening. And if you haven't been to Huntsville, if you haven't been to there, this place is literally right in the middle of the city. The reason it's called the Walls Unit is because there's walls all the way around it, like 30, 40 feet tall. They're old brick walls. These Texas prisons used to be made out of these red bricks, and these red brick walls all the way around the building. It's literally right in the middle of the city. Um, they have trustees that live there, and they get to walk outside of those walls, and they're like on the road and picking up garbage and stuff like that, unsupervised. It's literally right in the middle of the city, and so when you walk out, you finally walk out of there, you walk onto the street, and I was kind of sad for a second because I couldn't see my father. I couldn't find him. I knew, well, I didn't actually know if they would be coming because, again, one reason that they wait till like 10 or 11 o'clock at night to tell you that you're going to be leaving or something like that is because the phones are shut off. You can't go in and get on the phone because if they're transferring you to another unit, there might be a reason for it, and they don't want you getting on the phone to notify somebody. So what I ended up having to do was that night when I was told I was going home, I went into a buddy of mine and I gave him my mother's cell phone number, and I knew he talked to his mom every single day, so I asked him to make sure that when he talked to his mom the following day, that he would give her this phone number, and ask for her to call my parents to let them know that I'd been shipped off, and to be checking so they would know when I was being released. So when I walked out, I wasn't sure that anybody was going to be there. I didn't know that my father or anybody even got the message. Well, let me back that up. When I was walked into the room, I didn't know if anybody was going to be there. When they came in and made me sign that document, the map quest, they told me that my father was waiting outside, and they made him sign it as well. So as I was walking out, I did know he was being there, but I couldn't find him. I couldn't see him. As we're walking out, there's probably 60, 70 people that are walking out at the same time, and I couldn't see my father because all their families were, they're crossing the street and running up and grabbing everybody, and I couldn't see my dad. And I remember him. I remember him walking up the sidewalk, and he had just the biggest smile on his face, and it was so nice. It was awesome getting to have that, because it was almost kind of like it almost felt like a movie, the way it kind of happened. Getting to see my dad like that and everything, and so that was cool. Um, but it was funny because they had planned out my entire day. I don't actually. Funny because I went into my drawer today. So this, believe it or not, is the iPhone that caused the fight. This is the iPhone that caused the fight, that set me on the path to where I am today. Um, I had kept it the entire time. It continued to be the phone that I would use the entire time, being before I went, and I went through my drawer this morning. It's in my nightstand. There's a bunch of pictures on there that I wanted to pull off, because it goes all the way back to um, 2009. Sorry, 2010. So anyway, I came home. My dad, this phone was still working. I've had the same exact phone number since 2004 on my phone, and my father had that phone with him, but he made fun of me, and he told me he already had plans. He was going to take me to the AT&T store, buy me a brand new phone. Um, I think they had the iPhone 8 at the time, so it was bigger screen. He was just making fun of me because of that phone. I was like, I can keep that phone. It's no big deal. It doesn't matter to me. And now it's like I've got the iPhone 12. So perspective, I guess here. Um, can I show you? Uh, this is the difference in the phone. So that's kind of funny. Um, anyway, so I've got to charge this thing. I've got to find a charger for it so I can pull some of these pictures off. It's got a picture of my kids when they were little. Um, so so anyway, playing out the whole day. So that was so that's somebody had asked to kind of again. There's I could go on and on and on about a lot of these details. Um, some of them matter, some of them really don't. But anyway, so someone did ask about the overall relationship with my daughter's mother, and it was kind of a weird thing. So I'll do my best. Again, I'm not gonna. I just again, she's not a very nice person, so having to deal with her on almost any level isn't pleasant. Um, tell you how bad of a person she is, there, and I have this to this day. She's just a nasty, nasty person. She sent my father a text message. Um, I want to say sometime in 2019. I don't remember the date, but sometime in 2019, and basically told, well, not basically, the words said, um, "I can't wait until you die, and then I'm gonna have my daughter spit on your grave." She sent this to my father in a text message. She's like I said, she's just a nasty person. She was drunk and asking my dad, for money. Um, she was just being nasty, just nasty. Um, gives you an idea about how horrible of a person she is. Um, and then she had the nerve, like when my father did pass away. Um, literally, all she told me, all she sent me a text message, which I didn't expect anything from her, but she sent me a text message, and all she says is, "I just told our daughter," and that was it. And she'll communicate, it's just she's just a bad person. Say something like that, it's just horrible. Um, but it didn't start that way. I mean, we met in 2006. Like I said, I was 24, she was 19. Um, I think, no, I'm sorry. She had just turned, yeah, she was either 19 or turned 20. Yeah, I'm 5 years older than she is. Um, so I was 24. She was 19. We met at a club. We had mutual friends, but they introduced us, and we ended up meeting at a club. Again, why? Hey, clubs and bars and shit's not like where I like to hang out. Um, this was like right at the tail end of my hoe phase. So probably was a bad sign. I probably should have gotten out of my hoe phase before getting into a relationship with somebody. But we started dating in May of 2006, and she basically moved in with me almost instantly. I was traveling a lot for work between Texas and Florida, Miami. Katrina had hit, Wilma had hit. I'd been working down in Florida since 2004, working on a couple different hurricanes. And I asked her one time if she could literally just go to my house to to check on some things. Not even I didn't like I wasn't asking her to like I literally just asked her to go check on. Next thing I know, she texts me she's just going to stay the night there. And pretty much from that point on, she like never left. And again, I was only home at this time for like you know, say 5 days at a time. I'd be home for like 5, I'd be gone for like 10, whatever, something like that. So I ended up buying a house in November of 2007. Yeah. Yeah, November of 2007. And the house I owned, we were in the country, and it was a house on the corner, and we had one neighbor. And on the other side of that neighbor was my mom and dad. They owned a house. And on the other side of my mom and dad was my sister and brother-in-law. They owned a house. We all moved out there because my sister and my brother-in-law had moved out there. And to give you an idea of how the relationship was, I think almost in the very beginning, in 2006, we went to the NASCAR finale down in Homestead. And, she's young. And I say I was working down there. I was with my dad and my mom. And so we all went, and my uncle and aunt, we all went to the NASCAR finale in Homestead. And so I flew her in, and she was a spoiled fucking brat the whole time, making a scene, just acting like an ass. And my dad was flat out, send this bitch packing, send her the fuck home. and and I should have listened to him at that time, but um, I did. I cared about her, and I liked her a lot, and so we tried to work through all that bullshit. Um, it was bad. Um, but then, fast forward 2007, ended up having uh, a Halloween party, um, at our house. Yes, I bought the house in November of 2007. No, so Ike happened in November of, yeah. So fast forward to 2009. Living in the house, living in the house for a couple years now. Got it remodeled after Hurricane Ike. Um, and we're having a Halloween party. Had a bunch of people there. I wasn't drinking. She was drinking. Our kids weren't there. We'd send them off to grandparents' house. But we had a ton of people there, and when they were leaving, went to go clean everything up. And I got everything cleaned up, and we started fooling around. So we go in the bedroom, and I mean, like I said, everybody's gone. So and the kids aren't in the house at this time. Again, our daughter. This is 2009. This is October of 2009. Daughter's not there. Um, Nobody's there. So daughter was born in 2008. So we were fooling around and we're on the bed, and she. This will be a little bit graphic, so I'll try. But anyway, she goes to go down on me, and everything's fine, and then all of a sudden she bites me. She bites my junk. And I stop her. I'm like, hey, that hurt. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Blah blah. So she starts again, and about 30 seconds in, she bites again. And I'm like, all right, that hurt really bad. I'm gonna stop. And that set her off. Like that pissed her off, and she wanted to fight, fight about this. And it was like, I was like, well, hold on, like it hurt, like that hurt. Hey, biting me on my neck is one thing. Biting my dick is a completely separate thing. So, um, like this, it's just, so she wanted to fight, and it got into it. Just it started to escalate. So I'm like, look, I'm gonna go in the other room. So I went into the guest room, and I went to lay down on the bed, and she follows me in there. And she comes in, and she literally jumps on the bed, and I'm laying face down on the bed trying to sleep. And she just starts jumping on my back and just starts fucking punching me in my back, just going ballistic. And still, I don't do anything, don't touch her, don't do any nothing. And I'm like, and I get her to stop, and we're screaming and yelling at each other. Now remember, there's only one house in between my parents' house and my sister and my brother-in-law, and so we're screaming at each other, fighting. It's like midnight, 11 o'clock midnight. And so finally, I agree to go back in our bedroom, and we're talking. We're trying to talk. And I'm sitting on the edge of the bed, like big kind of footboard thing, wide, and I'm sitting on it, kind of just my butt on the mattress, and my legs, the crease of my legs is over the footboard. And we're talking, and she made a comment, and I had a smart ass response, and she didn't like that. And I've always equated this part of the story to almost like a cartoon. And again, I'm gonna hey I may catch some shit for that, but this part of the story I I'll be honest about. But it was like a cartoon occurs at this moment. I'm sitting on the edge and she's standing in front of me within a couple feet. Well, she goes, and again she's drunk, like she is a lot. And she goes to take a swing at me. Well, when she goes to take a swing, I mean, she kind of rears back and she goes to come around like this, and I lean back, and she's swinging with her right hand, and so her intention, I guess, was she was going to try to hit me, punch me in the face, and then the door was right behind her, so she was going to hit me and then try to run out the door. Well, when she did, it spun her around, which would have been good for her if she connected, because she could have run off. But she didn't connect. She missed, and it kind of spun her even further. And when she did, her hair kind of flipped around. But she tried to run. And I reached out, I guess with my right hand. I reached out. I just reached straight out. Her hair is like flowing backwards. I reached straight out, and I grabbed the back of her hair. And I catch her. And just like I said, like a cartoon, her feet go whoosh, straight up in the air. And she hits the ground, and I take her, and we had wood floors put in the house, and I didn't let go. I drug her across the house, and I threw her out the front door. We're not married at this time. I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm never gonna sugarcoat anything. So you guys know I'm always gonna be honest. Probably not the best thing I should have ever done, but I did it, and I'd been hit like 15 times at this point. So what I did was I just drug her out of the house, and I threw her out the fucking house. And hey, nice little storm coming in. Hope I don't lose power. But anyway, so I threw her out the house, and and I locked the door. And she was light, so I got a pretty good distance on her, I guess, because I was able to shut the door and lock it before she could get back up and get back in. Anyway, probably not too funny to joke about, but I mean, fuck it, is what it is at this point. Um, so she's standing outside the door, and she's kicking and screaming and yelling and beating on the door. And my parents, they eventually come down, and they convince me to open the door and let her in the house. And they come inside, and fast forward a couple years, my father is the one literally saying, "Jason, calm down. Just she's the mother of your child, and you guys, her stepson, looked at me like dad and everything." And he's like, "Calm down." And my mom, on the other hand, she's like, "Fuck this bitch, get her the fuck out of your house, send this bitch packing." And I should have listened to mom at that point, because I didn't listen to dad. And then I didn't listen to mom, and so clearly I had a history of not listening to people and making bad decisions. Um, and I ended up letting her stay, and we obviously reconciled and things like that, and then sold that house. We sold that house pretty quickly after that, and bought our other house. like, well, I bought the house. We didn't buy it together. She didn't have a job, so it's literally just me. But like I said, state of Texas is a community property state, so she had to be on the title of the house that I bought. Um, but um, but she wasn't on any of the loan docs or anything like that. So I bought a house. I bought a house in April. Closed on it in April, on April 9th, 2010. So that ended up being that. But anyway, again, I know it's not necessarily funny, but it was like a fucking cartoon. I mean, it was like, you know, you know, her feet, the way they just came off the ground. Um, but well, I back up to that a little bit. My mom, I was my eye was already turning black. My like she had hit me so many times that like the side of my face was yellow, was already starting to bruise, and my eye was already black from all the other times she had hit me. Plus my back was all scratched up and had huge marks on it and everything. So give you guys an idea of just she's just a shit person. Like I said, probably the worst thing she could have. I mean, look, I take a lot of beating. I've got broad shoulders. I can take a lot, but the text message I was going through my dad's phone um, after he passed away, and I saw that text message. I was going through all of his texts, and I saw that one, and I saw where she told him that she hopes he dies, and she's gonna have our daughter spit on his grave. Tells you a lot about somebody. But again, she's a drunk. You know, she drinks a lot. Um, Story about that. Um, there was two separate occasions. The new house that we had bought in 2000, or that I bought in 2010. Um, her son, I'd been raising him since he was like 2, so it was like, you know, it's like my own son. Treated him that way, and one day I come home from work. It's like 4 o'clock, 4:30, and I pull in the driveway, and he's sitting on the front porch, um, and he's sitting out there doing his homework. Really, he was a good kid, really smart little boy. And I said, "Buddy, what's going on? Why are you sitting outside?" He's like, "Well, I can't get inside." He says, "Mom won't open the door." Well, her car's in the driveway. Obviously, he didn't have a phone yet, and I'm like, "Okay, well, let's go on inside, dude." So I opened the door, and she's passed out on the fucking couch. She went day drinking. This is like a Wednesday, Tuesday or Wednesday. She went day drinking for fucking lunch, had a bunch of margaritas, passed out on the couch, and her kid can't get in inside the house. Fucking passed out. There was another time, did the same thing. I came home in the middle of the day. It's like 10, or sorry, 12, 1 o'clock, and she's fucking drunk, passed out. She's just, I mean, mumbling drunk, horrible. Used to drink a bottle of wine every single night, a full bottle of wine every fucking night. Um, there apparently was an occasion while I was away that caused a big fight with my parents. Well, part of the reason I ended up with custody of my daughter was because of her drinking, because she could never be sober enough when she came to pick up our daughter. We had shared custody, and one day she came to pick up my daughter, and she's hammered drunk, and I'm like, no, you're not gonna pick her up. Like, you can come back tomorrow, pick her up tomorrow. She comes back tomorrow, she's fucking drunk. Monday comes back drunk again, and I'm like, it's Monday at 4 o'clock. How the fuck are you drunk? And so I said, look, I'm leaving to go to. I have to go back to North Carolina tomorrow. If you don't show up sober to pick up our daughter, my daughter's coming with me. And yeah, so and so yeah, Madison ended up living with me in North Carolina for like 6 months because of that, because her mom could never be sober. Even when I brought her back, we would travel back. And I'm like, hey, we're going to be in town. We're coming back in town. If you'd like to come get your daughter, we're going to be in town on this day. And she wouldn't show up. She's too fucking drunk. She's out partying with her boyfriends and everything. I'm like, it's just horrible. But anyway, apparently while I was away, my parents would pick up my daughter. And apparently at one time when they went to go drop her off to her mom was passed out in her car in the parking lot of her apartment complex. I mean, just unconscious in the front seat of her car in the middle of the day in her apartment complex. So she's like the big she's the driving force behind why I don't drink. Because just God, look at that. Look at the fucking life that is. It's horrible. So that, and I do look back on when I was younger. I mean, we all did stupid stuff, but God, when we were younger, how many times did we probably drink and drive? I tell you what, that was one thing about meeting some of these guards there that they would tell you. They said, Husk, the only difference between someone like you and someone like me is that you got caught. And the guy would literally tell him. I remember talking to this one guard, and he literally told me, he's like, dude, he's like, I was at the bar last night. He says I probably drank 12 beers, and I drove home. He says on the way there, he says on the way home, I could have gotten into a wreck. I could have got a DWI. I could have run over and killed somebody. He says I didn't. He says, but I was drunk and I should not have been driving. He says, had I been caught, I'd have a DWI. I'd be sitting in county jail right now. He says the only difference between me and you guys is the fact that you guys got caught. And like, yeah. So that's a big something to think about when you make a lot of decisions, is the fact that it's not a matter of if, it's when. You will, especially if you're drinking and driving and going out. I mean, thank God for Uber and Lyft and all that stuff, and I hope everybody gets out there. And if you're going out for partying and stuff, that you guys are utilizing those resources. But I see it on my Facebook and Instagram page. There's so many fucking people that are just, I mean, it's like every day on their stories is they're just drunk and they're partying and they're, you know, I just, I don't know how the fuck y'all do it. I mean, granted, I did it. Hey, back in the day, like I said, it was MySpace days back in like 05, 06. We had the little Sony, cameras, the little Nikon, cameras, stuff like that. Um, yeah, drinking and stuff like that. I was just dumb, 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 dumb. But anyway, yeah, she's a big driving force in why I don't do half the stupid shit I did when I was younger. But but anyway, guys, I'm gonna sign off. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Really, really, unbelievable response from yesterday's show. I was scared. I was nervous, um, worried about putting a lot of that information out there, um, but not a single negative response from anybody. In fact, I had a numerous amount of people like contact me like, man, your story was like great. You like I got a family member who's dealing with something very similar right now. I've got a friend who's dealing with something similar. I had people contacting me saying they were going through something very similar right now, and they appreciation just for the fact that I talked about it. Talked about how I made it through, and the fact that I'm living the life I'm living now. Kind of made a lot of people feel better, and that's what it was for. That's what it was for. Is, to if I can help in any way to anybody, that makes me happy. It's my way of giving back. I'm kind of like, I don't know, I don't mean to sound sacrilegious, but kind of like sacrifice on the altar kind of thing. Like, I know it sucks to put myself out there, but if someone else can gain something from it, hey, um, that means more to me than me having to feel embarrassed or ashamed a little bit, or nervous and afraid, which I was, but not a single negative response, I'm very happy for. And I know at some point it'll come. It is what it is. But literally, like 50 or 60 people contacted me, messaged me on Facebook or Instagram, or text me on on my cell phone. Kind of amazing. So I want to say thank you to everybody. As always, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything you guys do for me. Um, you guys help me more than I think I help you, and I appreciate it. I really do. So I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. I've got a little bit of work I've got to do, and then I'm going to go to the gym, do a little rehab on my leg, and lift some heavy weights. I had Jack in the Box for lunch. I'm a big fat ass, so I got to work it off a little bit. So anyway, guys, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you soon. Talk to you tomorrow.